Hey, everyone. I'm sorry if that was really loud. I'm just very excited to be back.
Hell yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Cranked and Ranked. What happened there?
Wow.
Ranketed.
COVID gave us stutters.
Yes. You guys have been, you said that you're doing an episode next week, and then all of a sudden there was no episode. It's because we'll get into it, but the last time you saw us, we were talking about Pantera, and then my good friend Eddie Sparxx went to the Download Festival, so we took a week off, and in that weekend, we somehow, thousands of miles apart from each other, we both got COVID, and so that was a thing, and so but we're on the mend. We're pretty much back to normal here. So we're back with another.
I would refer to as a tactical Rona.
So we're back to do more cranking and ranking. So thank you for your patience for everybody that's been waiting for a new episode, and we're here. As usual. Old head here to kind of run the show. With me as always, Eddie Sparxx. What's on?
It's your boy Eddie Sparxx.
I'm trying to work what's on into like my normal everyday greetings, because it's going to confuse everybody because nobody uses it, and then maybe I can make it become a thing over here.
Well, you got to make sure you say it like there's no A in there. It's just two O's. So Wasson.
Oh, not Wasson. Wasson.
Wasson.
Wasson.
And
like
Wasson, but yeah.
And then I'll go, did you see that ludicrous display last night? You see, the thing with West Ham is they always try and walk it in. Anyway, that's from an episode of the IT Crowd where they're trying to impress the football fans, and they know nothing about football. And he's like, all you have to say is these two things. Did you see that ludicrous display last night? That sounds like I'm Australian. I'm so bad at doing accents.
Well, I mean, the Richard Ioane voice is a unique accent in itself.
Yeah.
He's like awkward, nerdy, but he's also very, very British at the same time.
He is a really unique dude and hilarious. I love that.
He's a treasure, straight up. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we're back, and I thought, obviously, let's just go ahead and say it because everybody already read it. This is going to be a ranking of the Nine Inch Nails discography. We'll go into our stipulations of what we decided to rank and not rank, because if you're a big Nine Inch Nails fan, you're like, what are they ranking, like 150 things? No, we're not. But before we get into that, I figured that we would do a little bit of catch up, because we haven't seen each other in a few weeks. We haven't seen you guys in a few weeks. And I know that there were some people that were like, maybe Eddie can talk about his download experience. And I'm like, I would like that, because like I said before, I've made the statement that there aren't any metal festivals over here. And I'm going to hold firm with that, because I've seen some of the festivals that happen around here, and there might be like a couple metal bands, but then it's like Papa Roach. And so I'm just like, no. But the one thing I want to point out is that I was like, well, why does it feel like there's no cool festivals here the way they are in England and in the UK? And it dawned on me, the UK is what, 300 miles from end to end?
Yeah, it's not very big.
Texas is 700 miles from end to end, and no festivals happen anywhere near me except for if I want to go to Oklahoma. Yeah. So it's just the thing of like what I envy you guys is the fact that you could just hop in a car or on a train and in an hour go or less to a cool festival. And that's what I want. I want to have that life. But you went to the Download Festival.
I did go to the Download Festival at good old Castle Donington.
So wait, is Download
is what used to be or
Monsters of
Monsters
Rock.
of Rock. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
nice. Okay, cool.
I think because it died off in like the mid '90s, the whole Donington thing, and
Yeah.
then in the early 2000s, Ozfest happened, and
Uh-huh.
then that rejuvenated the whole. Oh, maybe we could put on a rock show again, and then obviously it came back in like 2002 or three, and it
And they were
just
like, "We'll put on a concert."
yeah, Aerosmith and Pearl Jam.
Oh ho ho! I always liked Garth's reaction when he
Yeah.
says Aerosmith and Pearl Jam. Oh ho
Yeah.
ho!
Van Halen?
Old guy fashioning a kayak out of a log? No.
No! Rip
um,
Taylor's gonna be there.
and he was.
He's a god in my country. He can't walk the streets without getting mobbed.
This is the Wayne's World 2 quotathon right
Yeah.
now. What I was going to say was that the Download Festival came onto my radar in a big way, and I don't remember what year it was. It may have been like 2009. I don't remember what year it was, but it was the year that Faith No More made the big comeback and they played Download.
That
And
was
I remember,
a good one.
and I remember being like, Download, that seems like a cool festival. And and that was an exciting thing. Faith No More's comeback. I was all about that. Still am.
I love the part. I think it's at Download where he climbs on top of the. It's from that era. If it's not from Download, it's from that kind of 2009 comeback era.
Uh-huh.
But it's the one where Patton stuffs the mic in his mouth and he climbs up that camera crane and he's just like.
Yeah. There was some festival they played around that time too where he jumped off the stage and was almost being confrontational with the people in the front rows. And I'm like, is he mad? Because it seems like he's just like, fuck you to all these people. I'm like, they came to see you, dude. Let's chill out.
He's one of the hardest to read people in all of rock. I think it's like
I don't ever want to meet him because I just have a feeling that I'm going to feel really small once, I'm done talking to him. So anyway, but so Download Festival, which was, now it's 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad that I caught COVID in a way because I feel like I needed that week to readjust to non-festival life because I'd grown so used to fuck yeah, I'm gonna start drinking at 9 in the morning and get to the bands at like lunchtime and not stop till I get dragged back to the tent and I do the same thing again tomorrow. And I
did you were there like overnight as well?
Yeah, I camped out.
I could never. That's the thing. I could never do that. I'm too much of like a city boy, and I'm a little bit bougie, and so I would be all like, "What? I don't want to use these bathrooms. I want to go use a bathroom in a hotel."
I will say the one thing, right? That Amy kind of had it nailed. She would wake up before everybody else and use one of like the pristine porta potties at like 4 a.m. that had just turned up, right? Whereas me, I was like, I'm not relying on myself to wake up at that time. I'm just going to eat as much carbohydrates as possible so that I don't shit for 3 days. And my old donut diet did pay off. I was so fucking constipated.
So it was donuts and beer that you had.
Yeah. Straight up. And like I know this is kind of gross, but I distinctly remember I packed sandals for when, I packed a pair of regular shoes for walking long distances.
Yeah.
I brought sandals for just kind of walking around, lounging around the camping kind of area, just chilling out. And I brought wellies. I ended up not needing the wellies because this is one of the driest downloads, thankfully, that has ever happened.
That's good.
But there was one area where it wasn't dry. And because it's a muddy field in Britain, mud congeals, right? And I just remember walking over to like the outdoor urinal like toilets. They were like these fucking obelisks with like 4 separate toilets on it.
Oh, wow.
The dudes were just like raw dogging it in the air, just peeing into these things. But a lot of people don't have very good aim. And as a result, there's like a slip and slide of just piss mud right next to the thing.
Oh,
And I remember just like tiptoeing it around it in my sandals with no socks on and everything. And I was like, please don't get it on my toes. Please don't get piss
oh
mud on my
man.
toes. One dude fucking caught it and like ice skated from one end to the other because it was like, he was so lucky he didn't fall because my
Fucking
God.
shit and slide right there.
Yeah, shit and slide. But yeah, despite the gnarly piss and shit slip and slide,
I mean, from the few things you sent me, you look like you had a blast. So
I did, and I got a killer tan too, which unfortunately the week of COVID has undone because I didn't see the sunlight for.
you didn't get to go show it off to anybody.
No, no. I mean, my grandparents got it. My nan and my mum got a pretty good look at it.
Yeah, I
You
bet
know,
they appreciated it.
I got the whole "aren't you a handsome young man" treatment. But aside from that, so yeah, I've got a little list here of all of the bands, the big highlight bands for me
Yeah.
that I saw, and I'm gonna say it. First band that really blew me away, Skindred. Skindred know how to put on a fucking show,
Yeah.
dude. Holy shit! Like they gained a fan that day. I'd always heard their music and I thought it's a really cool fusion of like kind of new metal with like a reggae kind of flavor to it.
Yeah.
But like aside from the song Nobody, like I hadn't really heard anything that blew me away that much. When you see them live, holy shit. They did this thing as well because they're from Wales.
Mhm.
They did this there's a thing, Benji Webb, the front man, he said, we have something in Wales called the Newport helicopter. And what that is you're going to take your t-shirt off and you're going to swing it around like a helicopter. And dude, it was insane. I like the amount of times I just got whipped in the face by t-shirts. I was doing it myself. But yeah, that was great fun.
I think he stole that from Petey Pablo from North Carolina. Come on, raise up, take your shirt off, twist it around your head, spin it like a helicopter. That's that is a late '90s hip hop classic right there.
That is a good one. But yeah, but like the first band that came on that made me go stunned. Woo! Like it was Kiss. Kiss is Kiss, man. Holy
Yeah.
shit. Yeah. Live show. In terms of sheer spectacle, I've never seen anything like that, and I doubt I will again. Because
Yeah.
like, holy god damn. Like they descended from these giant platforms. The pyro, you could feel it from like way at the back, and I was near the front. So like I'm amazed I still have my eyebrows, frankly. And
Yeah.
how they don't burst into flames on fucking stage in that proximity to it. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Kiss, I was blown away by.
I mean, that's their thing. They put on the biggest show they can possibly put on, and I've seen footage of them on this last farewell tour kind of thing. And honestly, like, I mean, they're old dudes, but even for that, I'm all like, they sound pretty damn good. And
Yeah.
there's a whole lot of flack about whether or not they're using backing tracks and stuff like that. But from what I saw, it didn't see if they're using it, it might be background vocals or something. And because his voice, why would you use a backing track where your voice doesn't sound that great?
Yeah, it was a great fun evening, and I mean, dude, seeing Paul Stanley fly across the crowd on the Love Gun, and my girlfriend had a great time. I mean, mostly looking at Paul because she has a major crush on him, and Tommy Thayer, and yeah.
I mean, I've never gotten to see Kiss, so that's great that you did, because I've loved them forever, but it's always been a money or timing thing where I've just never been able to see them. So
I was very fortunate with this whole thing to have so many great bands all in one place. And I gotta hand it to my girlfriend. I've always said I always want to go to a metal festival, but I just never got around to it. And she said, "Fuck it, COVID restrictions are down. Let's go. Let's let's get back into the swing of actually enjoying our
is
fucking 20s.
that is marriage material right there, sir. Go for that.
Yep. Don't encourage her, man. She's already doing this shit.
Hey, man, if you like it, then you should put a ring on it. You know.
Here I am being accosted on my own podcast. But Black Label Society were cool. Shinedown, Megadeth, again, holy shitballs. You know, actually, Megadeth sounding really good these days.
I saw that they played Angry again. Have they been playing Angry again? Like, I saw that on some show, and I'm like, no way, that's fucking cool. So.
They did play Angry again. I was shocked too. I was like, oh my fucking god, they're playing Angry again. I'm still waiting for 99 Ways to Die because that is my favorite Megadeth song.
That's a killer song. Now, honestly, like the footage that I've seen of them, my gripe is the gripe that it's been for a while, which is they play the songs at such a lower key now for his voice that sometimes it'll be a shift in the song and I'll go, whoa, where the fuck am I? But other than that, like all the footage I've seen, I'm like, man, all four of the dudes they got going right now are just top notch musicians. I mean, it's cool. They sound great.
Yeah. Speaking of which, new Megadeth song, cool. I liked it. I liked the super intense, violent music video, and the riff at the end is rather very nice.
Yeah. Go watch my video on that if you want to know how I feel about it.
Watch it, fuckers.
just so everybody knows, I liked it, but people seem to be a little bit bent out of shape that I was critical at all about it, and I'm like, well, if I don't do that, then what's the point of my reaction? Of you just tuning in and be like, badass, man, bye. Yeah. It's boring. Anyway.
But Mr. Oldhead, you're supposed to suck him off for 10 minutes and then go away. But
it seems like I'm supposed to either just trash Megadeth for being shitty, or I'm supposed to praise every single second. I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm just being honest. There's so little honesty in this world these days. Just let me continue with it. All right. Okay.
Next up, we got Maiden. Holy shit!
Is this all the first day, or was Kiss the first day?
Kiss was the last band on the first day.
Okay,
and then we saw Megadeth, and then made our way over to Maiden. And I mean, god damn, dude! Like the first portion of the set was kind of newer stuff, and I was kind of like, okay, they're showing off their latest stuff, cool. Then, you know, they started putting in, like, you know, the 80s stuff. And goddamn, dude, like, they talk about a band that still got it. I mean, I know Bruce recently, I heard some, you know, talk of, you know, when Bruce can't do it anymore. But there is no sign of that when he performed.
Oh, like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely no sign of it. It was sounding fucking incredible, you know, and for a dude his age, he's got like exactly the same energy he had back in the 80s, man. Like, the dude can run from one end of the stage to the other and just not run out of fucking breath. It's amazing.
I wonder what it feels like to like take care of yourself health wise your entire life. I have no idea what that feels like. So but I like, honestly, like I would be Vince Neil at this point. I would just be a chubby dude. Anyway, not to make fun of Vince Neil, because honestly, that's getting a little bit old. Not pointing that at you, but it seems like everywhere you go, it's another video of someone going, "Why does he sound this way?" Like, okay, then don't fucking go see Motley Crue. Anyway, but the thing I was going to say about Iron Maiden that I like that they seem like they always do this, is that they always play a good amount of their current material, which is. That's like, I know that I'm in the minority here, but when I go see a band that's promoting a new album, I want to hear new songs. Like, and so I love it. I love bands that do that, but there are so many bands that put out a new album. It's like, here's a new album of 14 songs. We'll play one of them in the middle of our set with all these other songs you've already heard a bunch of times. I'm like, oh, just give me some newer shit.
You want to kick it off with like the new song, don't you?
They could kick it off with something fucking classic. Like, like
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. And I'm not saying that. I mean, I'll also never seen Iron Maiden. So I honestly I wouldn't care what they played because it would be my first time seeing them. But if I was somebody that, like I said with Metallica, if they put out a new album and I go see them again, I'm all like, play me some new things and just leave off some of those ones we've heard a whole lot of times. But once
Yeah.
again, it's always somebody's first show, so I guess you got to play it. You got to play Run to the Hills. You got to play. Do they do Wasted Years? They do that song. I don't know if that's one they
Yeah.
play anymore. They did.
Yeah.
A great song. I mean, how
Pretty
many?
sure.
They get too many great songs.
Yeah. That's the thing. Now when I like try and remember it, I'm like, did they play that one? Yeah, they did play that one. But yeah. What else have I got here? I got Ailstorm, the pirate metal band. Dude, they were fun. They were
Yeah.
really fun. There's actually they don't have mosh pits. They have rowing pits where people get down on the floor and go row, row. It's so
All right.
funny.
Now that's pretty funny.
Yeah, they had a giant rubber duck on stage and everything. It was hilarious. Tremonti, cool
Oh,
hard rock stuff.
I don't even know if I've heard them before.
He's the guy from he's the guitarist from Alter Bridge.
Oh, so was he in Creed? In Creed?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but Alter Bridge and Tremonti are cooler than Creed. Although I will say, Higher is a
I,
guilty pleasure of mine. Can you take me higher?
Yeah, no, that's Alter Bridge seems like a pretty okay band for that kind of thing. I'm not a huge fan, but even with Creed, I'm all like, I wasn't really into what they were doing, so I'm not the target audience. So I shouldn't be saying they suck, because I'm like, well, I wouldn't like what they were doing if they were a different band. So
I will say their guitar tone was really good. Like,
mhm.
like sound wise, sonically, they were killer live.
Yeah.
And I saw The Darkness, who always put on a fun show.
Uh-huh.
And then I caught the end of Korn's set.
Oh, that's the one that, like, I was like, hopefully you get to see Korn.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I thought to myself, because I will say, in terms of like something really fun, Steel Panther do put on a good live show in terms of like
Well,
funny.
yeah, of course, yeah.
But the best part was they had an interpreter there, like for the deaf, and
Yeah.
there's like a platform where you've got all these deaf dudes, and this like interpreter is really going at it, but like the lyrics are all like sex based, and there was one part where she's like, oh man, it was really fun.
So wait,
yeah,
you said you saw Korn, part of Korn?
I caught the last few songs of Korn in between The Darkness and Steel Panther, because
Okay.
my
Wait, Steel
girlfriend was-
Panther headlined over Korn?
No, Steel Panther were on a different stage. So what I did was
gotcha.
Darkness finished, girlfriend's holding the space. I go for a toilet trip, but on my way there I catch Blind, which
Oh, okay.
yeah. Ting 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 ting. But yeah, let's
Oh,
shall we talk some Nine Inch Nails?
yeah. So there you go, everybody. That's the update, the download update. So there you go. For those of you who are interested, and you get a little bonus in this episode. I'm not really big on being around a shitload of people all the time. But enough. I feel like I need to go to some sort of metal festival someday, but I want it to be, it's got to be something where there's more than two bands I want to see, because which is usually what happens when they happen anywhere near here. So not only would I have to book a flight to go somewhere to see this festival, it would be like, oh, well, I'm going to see two bands that I want to see and then wander around in the heat. Because right now it's going to be 100 degrees. Well, Fahrenheit over here, because we're weird. I don't know why we use you guys are Celsius over there.
Yeah,
which makes more sense. It makes more sense.
Well, I remember the time you found out that the freezing point of water in Celsius was on this show. We were talking about it.
Yeah,
and you said, like, I don't know, some number in Fahrenheit way down there.
32.
Yeah, 32. What's it over there? Zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? I don't
It's like,
understand. It's literally like that makes absolute sense.
yeah.
And then you go negative once it's frozen. But like it's almost like we had to be different over here. Like, no, it's gonna be 32. Why 32? I don't know. It's just
It,
we just decided
independence
that
from the
number.
British.
But yeah, fuck those limeys.
Yeah. I tell you what though, in terms of lineups, like download lineups, the one I really wish I could go back in time and see is the Saturday and Sunday of the 2012 download, because Metallica played the Black Album in full.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Tenacious D were there.
Hmm.
And on the last day, the Sunday, the three top bands, Megadeth, Soundgarden, and Black Sabbath. Two of those aren't even around
Wow.
anymore. Imagine seeing that. I wish I'd been there.
Wow.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
that's like that's an ideal
yeah.
night.
I would go to that. Anyway, so yeah, so let's now that we've done that, we'll move over to the task at hand, which is part one of our Nine Inch Nails ranking. And I'll try to break it down real quick for how we're doing this. So it's 14 total releases. So what we decided to do was rank the original Nine Inch Nails material under the name Nine Inch Nails. Because
Yeah.
obviously, Home Dude has now become quite a prolific soundtrack composer and other stuff. Um,
Hmm.
so we took the albums that are considered the full length Nine Inch Nails albums, and then we took the EPs that are original material. So we've left off remix albums, compilation albums, or whatever, and kept all the original material together. And honestly, like the more that I look at their stuff, I'm like, somebody's going to point out that we left something off. But I feel like that these 14 releases are the meat of Nine Inch Nails. And so, as we normally do, let's talk about how we were introduced to Nine Inch Nails. I may have told this story before because it's related to a band that we've already talked about, but it may have been late 1989 or early 1990. I was obsessed with the album The Real Thing by Faith No More.
Awesome album.
Obsessed with it. It was like my favorite thing. Couldn't stop listening to it. I mean, and I remember one night I'm playing it the living room of my parents' house. They had one of those big stereos, console ones with the big ass speakers, and I was just playing Faith No More. And my brother comes home, my older brother, with a friend of his, and he's all like, "What is you listening to this crap? This crap? You should be listening to Nine Inch Nails." And so immediately I went, fuck that band. Because if Nine Inch Nails fans are those kind of people, I want nothing to do with Nine Inch Nails. And then of course, at that point, I think I had already heard Head Like a Hole, and I didn't, I'm thinking to myself, that song is pretty good, but I'd never heard the rest of the album.
Mm.
So it took me a little bit to like, because whenever somebody's just a dick for no reason, I just go, well, fuck whatever band it is you're talking about. And so, but
Yeah.
eventually, I heard more of Pretty Hate Machine, and I went, okay, I'm on board with this. And then I think like a lot of metalheads or metal fans, they released Broken, and all bets were off. It was like, oh, this fucking band. This, I mean, he had a band like for live and stuff, but
Yeah.
at that point, I became a Nine Inch Nails fan, and I've been a fan of them ever since. In a sort of, we'll get into it when we talk about their stuff, because I'm not as interested in them anymore as I once was.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was my beginning. Early '90s, somebody talking shit about Faith No More, and I was like, well, fuck Nine Inch Nails.
I have the same reaction that to people that talk shit about Faith No More, and I will maintain that back in college I had this debate that I may have taken a little far, because I'd bring it up at like every occasion, and I don't know if people saw through that I was kind of doing the sort of trolling that Faith No More themselves do, where they kind of haze people with shit. But like, I was deep into Faith No More at the time, and I kept saying, "Hey man, Red Hot Chili Peppers, they're good, but they're not as good as Faith No More. And then everyone else was like fucking pitchforks, and they couldn't even name one Faith No More song. So it was like, I'm more of an authority figure here than you are. I love both bands. I want that stated on the record. We have done cranked and ranked on both of those.
To be fair, like if you when you know, and from my point of view, in 1990, if somebody like I loved Faith No More, but at that point, Chili Peppers had done nothing but great shit. So I probably would have been like, I don't know which band is better at this point. I've heard one Faith No More album. Talk to me a little bit later.
Yeah, I just, personal preference. I'm more of a metal guy.
I mean, you know that Faith No More is one of my favorite bands. Red Hot Chili Peppers is one of those bands that half of their discography is one of my favorite bands, and the other half of their discography is, like I said with Creed, not for me. It's I'm not the target audience anymore, and so it just doesn't connect with me.
But yeah, with that, where I came in on Nine Inch Nails, basically, I was 4 years into being a metalhead, roughly, and I was getting more open-minded, more interested in bands that sounded different.
Yeah.
Because, for the first couple, I'd say, my first couple years of being a metalhead from like 2010 to about 2012, or leading up to 2012, I was like, double kick, thrash, metal, fuck yeah, anything else is for wimps. And then I discovered grunge from like 2012 to about 2014. So I was still very guitar oriented, but in a different way. I still love metal and grunge simultaneously. And then all of a sudden, this is why 2014 for me was a big turning point, was because I was like 4 years in and I just decided, do you know what? I'm sick of all the high school, music, politics, bullshit. Let's just like all types of music. I don't have to prove my street cred to fucking anybody.
Yeah.
And I kind of got over it, and then all of a sudden, I just had this real hankering for like some industrial stuff, just out of the blue. Yeah. And I asked a friend, "Hey, I already know Rammstein. I'm looking for another industrial band," and they went, Nine Inch Nails. So I went, sought it out, and boom, saw the video for Head Like a Hole. Mind fucking blown, because I heard a super heavy riff played on a synthesizer, and I thought, this is different. This is heavy. This isn't metal heavy, but like still heavy music in that kind of realm, but it's like weird electro kind of edge to it, and I fell in love, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta get the whole album.
Well, that's what, and that pretty much what you're saying is sums up like my taste in the things that, because it's not necessarily it doesn't have to be metal. It has to be something heavy or something that just with the head nod shit that make you break your neck. Whoa ha! I got you all in check. You know what I'm saying? Like, those songs that like it doesn't matter what style of music it is. If it makes my head go like this, then then it's fine. So if it's hip hop, if it's and you brought up an interesting term, because you said industrial, and I just immediately, my brain went, this is the first industrial artist we've ever done. Yeah. So we're breaking some new cranked and ranked ground here.
Hell yeah. Breaking and quaking. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, yeah, but you're right when it comes to like when you realize that you love heavy music, but you're looking for things that are a little bit on the fringe. Nine Inch Nails is one of those bands you're eventually going to get to.
Outside of the box, yeah.
Yeah. Which it's interesting, because there's, I would say at least half of their stuff is stuff that I would say is completely unrelated to metal or heavy music at all. And then the other half of it, it's got a real heavy quality to it. But anyway, I guess let's jump into ranking. So I said 14 releases total. This will be the bottom 7. And then next time we will do our top 7 Nine Inch Nails releases. If you notice, this is like one of the first ones in a long time where there's like nothing here behind me in the video. I usually have. Shit. Because I literally have one Nine Inch Nails thing on vinyl, and that's broken. And that's because my wife bought it for me for my birthday one year. But
Wow,
I've
so I actually have more Nine Inch Nails vinyl than you do.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to have, trust me, I would love to have Downward Spiral, but that shit's expensive.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
so, but yeah,
1994.
so anyway, as usual, I'm going to let Eddie Sparxx start it off with his Dead Last. Now, since we're doing Dead Last, I think it is good. You probably agree with me on this. I would say even these releases that I'm going to be critical about, there's nothing that Trent Reznor and whatever the incarnation of Nine Inch Nails put out that I wouldn't say has a high level of quality to it. I think everything he's put out does.
I am 100%
for what it is.
with you.
Yeah.
I think I think there's certain releases that have a different intention to a normal album, so to speak. And you know, him being a composer as much as he is a songwriter, you know, there are some things, especially the Ghosts stuff.
We'll get to those.
It's very much more soundtracky. So with that,
well, let's go to your number 14.
Cool. Might as well start with Ghosts 1 to 4. Now, this one for me, I have to be in a very specific mindset to put this on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need to focus, or I'm gonna need some, you know, something to set a bit of a mood. There's no vocals on this one. It's pretty much a big ass soundtrack. And there's 36 fucking tracks on here. So and I even took the time to do a track by track for this.
Wow.
So number 1.
Aren't they all called Ghosts on this one?
Yeah. It's I'm just gonna go 1 is a chill yet haunting track that gives off an aura that is as relaxed as it is suspenseful. 2 is kind of distorted drones. We're going to be here for a while. Feel free to chip in. Distorted drones and piano parts. 3, much more rhythmic and percussive, but with like kind of a funky edge. 4, it's this noisy, grunged out, moody, guitar-driven doomer. 5, the descending piano in this is a Nine Inch Nails staple. I love when he does that shit. Number 6 is this mischievous, chimey xylophone thing. Makes me think of a platformer game, but I can't place which one. 7 is abrasive and percussive. Kablam, yo.
So that was funny because like you're literally talking about all these Nine Inch Nails songs, and then my computer all of a sudden got super glitchy. It was like tick, 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 and then everything froze, and I was just like, "What the fuck?" It's like that was so appropriate for that particular thing because it's just like, holy shit! I don't know I was gonna say the ghost of Trent Reznor, but he's not dead. Trent Reznor's like. He's like infiltrated our podcast, and he's just like, no, sorry, you guys aren't going to talk about this today. Good thing is, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think you're going to enjoy the fact that I didn't stop rolling for any of that. So you've got like an entire like 4 minutes of B-roll of me just doing some fucked character comedy by myself.
Nice. The good thing is that the Zoom saved everything. Cool. Up to a point, so we can just continue. I would remind you where you left off, but it was just like, you know, vibey, rhythmic one. I don't remember which one that you were on, but
it's funny. I got all the way up to 9 and saying, so this is the first collection of Ghosts, and you are frozen.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna try to put that in the video because that was so. I mean, I was just there was a part of me that goes, okay, look, if the footage that we've already done is salvageable, then this will be funny and really appropriate for the music that we're talking about. But so anyway, Ghosts. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, he wasn't even through 1/3 of Ghost
Nah.
before the system overloaded from all of the I don't know what all of the madness of the tracks of Trent Reznor's Ghosts 1 through
I
4.
guess the computer came back haunted, huh?
Oh,
Ooh.
if we were talking about that album, that would have been fucking perfect. But
I,
we'll get there.
Ghosts haunt shit. Yeah, it's somewhat connected. But
And
yeah,
it's
let's
a Nine Inch Nails song, so yeah, well, no, I feel you, I feel you.
hell yeah. So yeah, we're on disc number 2
All right.
of
Well,
4.
I'll try to make some sort of sense out of what just happened there on the final product here. But yeah,
Cool. So starting off Ghosts 2, you got 10. somehow laid somehow laid back and cool, but it's got very pronounced percussion to it. 11 is menacing guitars with like these pulsing beats underneath. I love the
hmm
panning left and right cellos. I thought that was a really interesting sonic quality to it. 12 is delightfully evil sounding. Reminds me of this is where I'm going to sound super nerdy, and I'm not going to claim to be an anime expert, but I've seen a few in my time, and it kind of reminds me of Ray's theme from Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is a really cool one. Um,
I didn't understand any of those words that you just said.
and you won't understand anything from the show either, because it is a psychological thriller. And hell yeah.
I'm still so behind on that whole thing that people are like anime. I'm like, yeah, Akira, right? That was cool. Like, how fucking old is that movie? It's like
think
40 years old. It's
1988, I think. So
it's pretty old.
it's getting there.
Yeah.
But oh, where am I at? 13, chilled out piano led track. 14, weird, really out there stuff. 15, the synth bass in that is dirty. I like that a lot. 16, this one is cheeky. 17 is whimsical yet intense. I get to a point here where they start becoming like 4 word sentences. 18 has a Western sci-fi vibe. 19 is yeah. So that was Ghosts 2. Then we get Ghosts 3.
We got two more to go, folks.
Yep. So we got 19, which is this groovy, noisy thing. 20 is this pulsating ambient distortion, which eventually builds up to an alt-rocking conclusion. 21, pretty sure he sampled Window XP sounds here, and it's pretty cool. 22, we have passed the halfway point now, so here we go. 22 has like a nice piano on it. 23 is gnarly, distorted stuff. This is the thing with this one, because it's so scattered and all over the place, it's not as consistent as the other 2 Ghost releases.
Okay.
So this is why, for me, I would have to want to be in a specific journey kind of mindset. 24 makes me want to play laser tag. 25 is kind of ambient darkness. 26, we have 10 left. 26 is this mystic grungy groovage. Nugs and grindage, am I right? 27 is the absolute definition of dissonance, and that concludes Ghosts 3. And now we finally get to Ghosts 4.
4. Now this time it's personal.
Again, for the 4th time.
They killed his favorite second cousin. Big mistake.
They just fucked with the wrong podcaster. So yeah, 28 is atmospheric banjo vibes, which makes a lot more sense than it should. 29 needs a G-funk whistle bad. Like, I really want to hear some like stuff going on there. 30 is staccato but tranquil. Got some fat groovage on 31. 32. You ever seen that meme that goes, why am I hearing boss music? Like, you
No.
know what, when someone's in like a kind of anxiety-inducing situation, and then why do I hear boss villain music? Shit.
Oh,
Oh
gotcha.
fuck.
Yeah.
Shit. 33, gnarly noises. 34. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can. Did you not know that that is the sample that they used in Old Town Road?
I did not know that. Interesting.
Yes. Yeah, this is yeah, this would go on to get a second wind, so to speak, 11 years following its release, with Lil
Wow.
Nas X using it in Old Town Road.
I
Uh,
can safely say I have heard the song Old Town Road exactly one half time. And I'm like, nah. I mean, good on him. He seems like a cool dude. But nope, that is not for me.
I will say that that song is a song that I didn't expect to feel nostalgic for, but I remember it being very prominent in my last pre-COVID summer. And whenever I hear that,
Oh,
I'm like, I had no idea what was around the corner, did I? You know?
that's funny. All these songs are going to become like nostalgic. Like, remember Gangnam Style? Wasn't that great?
Yeah.
The world was much simpler back then.
Honestly, like I'm finding myself now in this fucking shit show of a decade we are in so far. Just like I'm hearing stuff from before that I would have turned my nose up at, and now I think, oh, look how innocent we all were, you
That
know?
that's how I've become with all sorts of shit from the '90s that I didn't like at the time.
Yeah,
And now I hear it, and I guess I have to. That's the decade that I'm the most like. Oh, can we just get back to? Because I
yeah,
know the world wasn't perfect back then, but just my overall vibes. I'm like, oh, that
yeah,
was, maybe it was being younger. Who knows? But either way, like it felt much better.
yeah. It was a simpler time.
I was talking to my wife about this. I don't know if you ever had these shows over there or got to see them, but in the early 2000s on the channel VH1 over here, they had these shows called I Love the 80s, I Love the
Yeah,
90s, and I Love the
I've seen them.
70s. And I was talking to my wife, I was like, they're never going to make a show called I Love the Early 2000s. They're never going to make that show because I don't think there's anything that's happened in the past 20 years that they're like, remember how great that was? It's all kind of like, that was weird and there was some bad shit there. Okay.
I will say, right, 9/11 aside, the PS2 was pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess maybe in other countries, maybe, but like for some reason, like that there's no good memories. I mean, there's good personal memories from stuff, but the overall vibe, the turn of the millennium until now, I'm just like, yeah, there's really no part of it that I go, I'd like to go back to that. It's
Hmm.
not, yeah,
Yeah, I think for me, because the 2000s was my childhood, so
yeah,
I have a lot more nostalgia for that time.
yeah,
Being a kid, you're going to,
yeah.
but
True, that's true. What
but
number
for,
were we on?
I've literally we've just started. We're nearly an hour in, and I'm on album number one. This
Do
could be
we?
like the
Did you do all
longest
the
episode.
tracks?
Nearly.
Oh, okay.
35. 35 is a hard industrial beat sort of thing, and 30
That's
36.
we can literally just say Nine Inch Nails, hard industrial beat sort of things. Good night, everybody.
Oh man, 36, whimsical piano closer. All in all, it's not your usual nin, but it's cool for what it is. I can
I
see myself. Oh,
No,
what
go
are you gonna
ahead.
say?
Finish it up.
I can see myself making a playlist of like my favorites to help me focus or something. But of the three individual Ghost releases, this is the most scattered and hard to digest, in my opinion. It's just so long and hard to digest. That's what she said.
She said. Oh,
But yeah, with that, that's my number 14.
I mean, you gave that way more attention than I ever have. So let's get these out of the way. My number 14 is Ghosts 6 Locusts, which is the last of the last of the Ghosts releases. And this was one of 2 released at the same time in 2020. And now I'm gonna give it some credit here, because this may not be my cup of tea or the kind of thing that I want to listen to, but he released both of these, Ghost 5 and Ghost 6, for free during the pandemic. And that's pretty cool. More people should have done shit like that, because it was, but people did do something. There were varying things that people did during that first big year, when a lot of people were just, not going anywhere. I have to admit, I have gotten a little bit nostalgic about that first year of lockdown, because all these groups were doing these live streams, and there was
Metallica Mondays and stuff.
Metallica Mondays were happening, and on top of that, I'm a person that I don't really leave my house anyway, and so all of a sudden I'm all like, "Welcome to my life, everybody!" And now I get cool shit too. Anyway, so but here's the thing. So Ghosts 6 is 83 minutes long.
Yeah.
And let's be fair. Let's be fair about Ghosts 1 through 4, Ghosts 5, and Ghost 6. Let's be fair. Let's not. I know I read some reviews from music critics of these albums, and they have their heads stuck so far up their own asses that I don't think they even really heard the albums. Because really, like, if your review, I literally read a review, and this is paraphrasing. It's like sitting in your room and seeing a glowing obelisk appear in the middle of the room and then sprinkle out dust. I'm like, no, okay, then fuck this album then. If that's the way that you have to review it, is you're having some sort of acid trip, and then it's not good. And so let's be fair. These are literally just unfinished Nine Inch Nails songs. Like not all of them, but the majority of them, I hear a thing and I go, cool. If he added a beat and some vocals and a chorus, this would be fucking cool. But at the same time, I do understand that at this point, Trent Reznor has already fully gone into, like, I do soundtracks. And so I understand the vibe, but at this point, this is the 3rd, or if you want to be fair about it, the 6th release of the same sort of shit. And you can act like it's something interesting if it makes you feel like a more cultured person. I don't know. I'm not talking about you, Eddie. I'm talking about just people in general. Rhetorically. Because I feel like that's what it is. I feel like it's a whole lot of people saying, well, I should really like this for these reasons. But be fucking honest. Do you enjoy it? And then the honest answer for me is no. But if you put it on headphones and I'm not paying any attention to it, I'll occasionally go, that sounds cool. But that's literally the only thing that these releases have going for them. And I ended up putting Ghost 6 last because I'm all like, he did it again, and it's 83 minutes, and so it's got
did it again.
Yeah. So for those Nine Inch Nails fans that just love whatever, this is great, because if you're that big of a fan, like that's true. Like, it's if you're talking about my favorite band, if you're talking about Metallica, like, if they put out something where it's like, here's a 30-minute atmospheric composition that we made that sounds absolutely nothing like anything we've done, and most people won't even like it, I would be like, that's cool. I'm glad that you did this because it's something different and I enjoy the effort that you put into it. So because I'm not a massive Nine Inch Nails fan, I hear this and I go, it just seems like shit that you put so much effort into this and it still feels like it needs to be finished. And so So yeah, that's why it's my number 14, Ghost 6.
I'm just gonna chime in here. I think I heard something about they had made soundtracks for a movie, but the movie decided to go with a different soundtrack.
Oh,
Uh, and I don't know where I heard this. I could be talking out of my ass, but I think I heard something about they'd made soundtracks and they ended up not getting used. And I don't know whether or not
okay.
this was a soundtrack that was like
It,
renamed as a Nine Inch
I
Nails
mean,
release.
and that's fine, but you brought up a good
Yeah.
point. The Nine Inch Nails name is put on this. So it's literally like coming to someone and being like, hey, you want to listen to Nine Inch Nails? And they go, cool, head like a hole. And you go, no, it's a song that goes like this. And so, yeah, so I'm ranking Nine Inch Nails albums. And so if we were ranking atmospheric industrial albums, I'd be like, well, these are pretty damn good. But obviously I'm going to be going to the Ghosts albums here quite a bit, but I'll move on from Ghost 6 and let you go into your number 13.
I'm going to jump straight off of you because my number 13 is Ghost 6, Locusts. And the reason I have this one at number 13 as opposed to 14 is because it has an aura to it that's consistent. My biggest issue with Ghosts 1 through 4 was I feel like the ideas weren't perhaps as cohesive in terms of where they were placed. So you would get kind of a crazy song and then a chill one, and then another crazy one, and a chill one, crazy, chill, crazy, crazy, chill. Whereas this one, the big difference between this one and Ghosts 5 is that Ghosts 5 is very chill.
Yeah.
For a lot of its runtime.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that side of it. And if I'm going to pick any Ghosts album, obviously, because it'll be the highest one I've put of the Ghosts albums. I'm not going to say where, but this one for me, it had a consistent kind of horror movie thriller sort of vibe to it.
Yeah.
Meets a little bit of old school noir, meets slasher flick kind of stuff. So yeah, the Cursed Clock, in stark contrast to the more peaceful Ghosts 5, this one is already a lot more on the darker end of things. I mean, you can see it in the artwork. This one is black. The Ghosts 5 is a light gray. Around every corner, like I said, I'm in a noir murder mystery movie from the 40s with an avant-garde edge to it. The Worriment Waltz, still feel like I'm in a detective setup. Run Like Hell. What I will say about these albums is that they are good for contemplation. If you're like thinking shit over and you need like some sound for it, yes, but yeah. When it happens, don't mind me. Reminds me of a slasher flick, like I say. Another Crashed Car is a menacing kind of ambience. Temp Fix, sizzling short kind of interlude.
Mm-hmm.
Trust Fades is this mysterious piano-led track. A Really Bad Night is what I had when I had COVID. Yeah, it's some melancholy piano with ominous pads, which can be said for a lot of the Ghost stuff. Your New Normal is this plodding track. Just Breathe is one of the lengthier tracks of the album. Here's a thing that stands out to me in my notes, because I started thinking more of the runtime than the actual tracks at this point, because it's a long one. Yeah, Just Breathe is one of the lengthier tracks of the album. Right behind you, one of the shortest tracks on the album. Turn This Off, Please. Most lengthy and sprawling track on the album at like 13 minutes. So Tired belongs in a horror movie. Almost Dawn is this ambient closer with a wild
now that you're reading the song titles, I'm all like, that had to have been his mindset when putting this together. Turn This Off, Please. What time? It's almost
so
dawn.
Tired.
So tired. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm with you, Trent. I'm with you.
It's like we said, it's cool for what it is, but it's far more in line with Trent's soundtrack work than a Nine Inch Nails album.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that whenever I've heard him do soundtrack stuff and I hear it in the context of a movie, I don't want to buy the soundtrack to listen to it on its own, but the stuff that he
He does
does,
his
like,
job, yeah.
yeah, I'm like, it adds an element that has been missing from a lot of movie soundtracks, in my opinion. So yeah. Are you done with
Cool.
that one with numbers with ghosts, sixths, locusts? So many
Yeah.
consonants in that.
Ghost Six Locus.
Um, on my number 13 which is Ghosts 5 Together, also from 2020, released the same day as Ghost 6 for free. Way to go, everybody, enjoy. It's literally the same exact thing, only longer, some longer tracks, mostly just soundscapes. You talked about this, about how this one is way more ambient and chill and stuff, words like that. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add, because it sounds like it could be really great soundtrack material. It's 70 minutes of stuff that I would immediately forget was even playing. So I think that's the thing, is that, I know it's a matter of opinion, but when I think of my overall experience listening to these things, I just think about the amount of time it probably took him to throw these things together. And I'm just like, you could have been doing a lot of other things with your time. But if it was intended to be some kind of soundtrack, then I'm like, well, that makes a lot more sense. But once again, if you're a famous musician who doesn't have to have a real job, I guess you have a whole lot of time to jerk off onto songs. And so and it's like H from Acid Rain says sometimes, when it's a solo project, he sometimes refers it to one man's collective jism. And yeah. and I think it's very appropriate for the Ghost albums that we would call them one man's collective jism. So there you go.
Cool.
12 for you.
Cool. My number 12. Now, here's the thing where I would hazard that I'm entering hot take territory, because my next one isn't a ghost. It is Add Violence from the EP trilogy.
Okay.
And, yeah. This one, to me, I decided that because it's 3 EPs released, like 2016, 2017, 2018 in a row. They're not all like full albums, but I consider them all part of one masterwork, as he said that it's a trilogy.
Yeah.
So, and this one for me, I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to go based off of sheer enjoyment factor, because there's a lot of Nine Inch Nails, latter day Nine Inch Nails, that could appear on any of the EPs, even though, like, that's not to say it sounds the same, so much as he can do so many different styles on one thing, that it could go on anything, and this trilogy kind of feels that way.
And honestly, like he doesn't always use the exact same production style throughout any one particular album. There's a couple that he does, but so really, especially in the last 20 years, you could literally swap out songs and it would, I mean, so there is a point of that where I go, well, does that mean is he actually doing anything good, or is he literally just putting out Nine Inch Nails retread Nine Inch Nails kind of sounding stuff with different lyrics and different kind of blips and bloops in them,
I would say, like, part of the Trent Reznor, as he kind of developed and honed his craft, I don't know if production consistency was something he ever really wanted. I think he wanted parts of albums to sound completely different to other parts of the albums, and I respect that a lot.
I mean, he's well known for a release that we're not going to talk about, which is called Fixed, which came out after Broken. Yeah. If I remember right, there's a part in one of the songs where he intentionally makes it a CD skip that goes on for a long time. Yeah. And I remember like hearing it for the first time, being like, something's fucking wrong with this. And my friend being like, no, it's supposed to sound like that. I'm like, that's fucked up. Okay.
Yeah. It's like, I always remember thinking, because the first time I heard Fixed, I was like, this is the greatest troll in remix history, straight up. like, oh man. But yeah, I'm gonna jump into Add Violence.
Yeah.
So so you got Less Than, coming right in with an arpeggiated retro synth flavor. Pretty cool. But I think it peaks pretty early on because I really like that song. The Lovers is this vibey, poetic, ambient sort of thing. This Isn't the Place is mysterious and vibey. Not anymore. Excuse me. Some fuzzy experimental guitar fun. And then right at the end, you got The Background World. Now, this is a big old 12-minute track where the first 4.5 minutes roughly make up the actual song, while the remaining runtime, like you said, it's almost like a CD skip. The remaining runtime is just a looping section from the end of the track that gradually
Mm,
gets more and more fucked up with distortion. Now, on like a one-time listen, that's pretty cool, but I'm
yeah.
like, you could have shaved off like 6 minutes of that, like, and like it's something like that that makes me think, okay, cool creative decision, but I only ever really want to hear that one time, and then it's a
Yeah.
case of, okay, the thing's over, I'm just gonna slide the little thing along. uh yeah, so it has its moments, but I don't find it as enjoyable as its predecessor, which is Not the Actual Events.
Yeah.
So, with that, that's my number 12, Add Violence, the second EP from the EP trilogy.
Cool. My number 12, I'm going to wrap up the Ghosts thing here with Ghosts 1 through 4 from 2008. Um,
Cool.
and I feel like if this was left on its own, I might put it up higher. But the fact that he went back to the well two times, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
he had already done it. And I remember reading, and I think it may have been from his mouth that he, like, I love Trent Reznor. And he's a genius in his field, and he seems like a great dude, and he's somebody to look up to when it comes to having your own vision and just going fucking forward with it, and no matter
Yeah.
what, and carving your own niche out in the musical world, which is great. But his description of this was, quote, a soundtrack for daydreams. That might be the lamest thing Trent Reznor has ever fucking said. But it is spot on because it is impossible to stay engaged with this stuff. So yeah, I guess it is the sort of thing where you put it on and then you're all of a sudden you're just daydreaming and not paying any attention to what's fucking happening in any of the songs, even though there are
Yeah.
parts where like you point out the things that are like unique about each track. And I always will hear those things and go, that's cool. But it's the same exact thing where I go, let's put something else on this. Let's put some vocals. Let's make this a song because this would be a cool. This is the beginning of a cool song.
Yeah.
And once again, that's me putting my own desires on this. Like I know that wasn't his intention, but I hear it and I go, give me some songs. Give me some songs.
Yeah.
You could easily build songs from these.
I mean, Lil Nas X literally did that, like, and got a massive hit.
Look at that. Yeah. So the all three of these releases, like I've already said, it's just that kind of shit that music critics will just bloviate over it.
Yeah.
But I mean, but it is it is one of those things where if he hadn't already been dabbling in soundtracks, and I think in 2008 he already had, I would hear this and go, that dude needs to be working in movies, and he is. So yeah, overall, with all of the Ghost stuff, that my 2 cents is that it seems like a lot of effort for just background music.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to listen to these again, unless somebody comes to me and says, what do you got to go in the background that's sort of industrial ambient? And I'd be like, well, I know these albums. And so that would be it. There's no other reason to go to them. And so, especially when we're ranking Nine Inch Nails, because I'm like, well, I don't go to Nine Inch Nails for this. If there's a Nine Inch Nails song in the album that sounds like that, cool, because I'm all about flavors and dynamics. But I just feel like there's not enough. There's not enough to make it anything that I think is worth revisiting. Going through them one time was pretty rough. So yeah, that brings us to number 11.
Cool. So my number 11 is the final chapter of the EP trilogy with Bad Witch.
Mhm.
Now it's kind of debated as to whether or not this one is considered an EP or not, but it's half hour. It's an EP.
Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah,
a long EP.
yeah. So Ship Mirror, love this. Catchy, heavy up tempo industrial rock.
Yeah,
Like I was like, oh damn, dude, they tapped into something here. And then Ahead of Ourselves had me thinking, okay, they've gone a little bit punky. There's a bit of a punk edge to the first two tracks. And then complete fucking left field, play the goddamn part. Okay, now we're in the John Zorn zone, you know? It's like
yeah,
way avant-garde stuff. God Break Down the Door is experimental electro rock. I'm Not From This World is brooding intense, and Over and Out is a groovy plinky plonky closer. And it's like I respect the whole, idea of when the world goes right, make a hard left, like that whole thing of like do something unexpected. But I'm so used to Trent doing the unexpected that I expect the unexpected, you know?
yeah,
And
yeah,
in a strange way, I almost want him to come out with something that is like I almost want him to do, and now this is not me just wanting him to retread past glory or anything like that. And I know I'm
yeah,
gonna, seem this way wearing a Pretty Hate Machine shirt, but I want him to do another Pretty Hate Machine in terms of pick a style and just see what comes from making something a little bit more consistent. Because
yeah,
I feel like in a way, and he's a fucking musical genius. But with that, it's almost like you've proven to me time and time again that you can make an album with umpteen different vibes to it.
yeah,
How about, because that's what I liked about Pretty Hate Machine. That's what I liked about Broken. That's what I liked, about, With Teeth. There's certain albums that benefit from the all over the place stylistic stuff like Downward Spiral and The Fragile, but there is a part of me that's kind of like I've grown so accustomed to a guy putting 6 completely different songs in one place. What if you like honed it in and saw a stylistic thing and did the unexpected by doing the expected or something? I don't know.
yeah.
Like a reverse psychology kind of thing to it.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I would like that too. I would disagree with when it comes to like Downward Spiral and The Fragile. I think both of those albums to me sound very cohesive, even though
I,
there's
yeah,
there's different kind of I mean different flavors and stuff in there. But I will admit that ever since I think after With Teeth, pretty much everything he's put out, consistent is not the word I would use. There's
yeah,
it always seems like stuff kind of like from different
yeah.
projects that he's kind of put together.
I suppose cohesive wasn't the right word. I'd say more schizophrenic, where something will have a completely different vibe, but it
Sure.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That's more where I was driving at. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like that. That's a big thing that kind of plagued the EP trilogy for me was that like because he does so much in one go. It's like I've kind of heard you do this, and this is the third time you've done it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why they appear a little bit lower
Yep.
down here. That being said, I still enjoyed him.
Yeah. My number 11, I think I could say a lot of the same things about, but we're going a little bit further back. My number 11 is The Slip from 2008,
Okay.
which actually came out the exact same year as Ghosts 1 through 4. I think it was like 2 months later, The Slip came out, but The Slip is more of a proper Nine Inch Nails album. And this one ends up being like the lowest of the proper Nine Inch Nails stuff, in my opinion, just because it has some standout tracks in it. But now that we've gotten to 2008, if you're listening to everything all in a row, once you get to the slip, some of it just sounds like Nine Inch Nails doing Nine Inch Nails, and there's not enough that makes it stand out as a unique album. It's becoming this thing where you're right. He does take left turns and add, do completely different styles of songs, sometimes with completely different production styles. But all of that stuff has become a thing where even in those songs, that stuff, I listen to it and go, well, that sounds like something that he would do. It's not, it's starting to be like he's got a color palette, the Nine Inch Nails color palette. And he's like, oh, take a little bit of this for this one, but it's still the same palette. Like it grew.
You're not surprised by it anymore.
Yeah, it grew for many years into a pretty big Nine Inch Nails palette, but now it's like stopped. And he's just like, all right, well, now I'm just going to play with the Nine Inch Nails palette. That being said, though, like there are some great songs on this, but in the thing that kind of killed this album for me was kind of the end of the album, the last few tracks, because all of a sudden you get to a 7-minute track that is something that he already did on Ghosts 1 through 4, and I go, I thought we were done with that. But he's like, no, I have one track I'm going to throw on the slip too. I'm like, and it's 7 minutes. And then the next tracks are really not that great of a closing to the album. So it has its songs that I go, this is cool because I like Nine Inch Nails. So I'll hear things and I go, that's a cool song. Or sometimes it's just a cool vibe. Like I'm perfectly fine if you have a vibe and there's not necessarily verse, chorus, going on in it. If you give me enough of a vibe, I'll be on board. But with the slip overall, it's like, for some reason, it really reminded me of With Teeth, only with weaker songs, because it's got the same thing. Because, like With Teeth, he had some songs had live drums. There's some live drum. Well, I mean, he occasionally will have live drums, but he's got that here too. But he also has the one song on the slip that sounds like it should be on With Teeth, because he does some songs on With Teeth. We'll get to that later, where it's almost like a disco beat. And to me, those are like some of the weakest songs he's ever made. And then there's one of those on here too. And I'm just like, all right, well, this is like, it feels more like Leftovers than anything else. Like if you would play me this album and say, well, these are B-sides, I'd be like, oh, yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, they're still cool. It's Nine Inch Nails, but it does sound a little bit leftover. And then the album peters out. And that's why my number 11 is The Slip.
Cool. So my number 10 is my favorite of the Ghosts releases, which is Ghosts 5 Together. And I actually really enjoyed this one in terms of for what it is.
Yeah.
And, compared to Ghosts 1 through 4, the tracks on this are much longer compositions. Mm-hmm. And they really put you in this like kind of Zen zoned out kind of zone. Whereas,
can I stop you for a second? I just want to get your opinion real quick, because you said compositions. So So here's the thing that, like, when I was listening to these, and especially this album, I could not get out of my head. So let's say you're making really, I don't know, the atmospheric and slow moving, moody music with an orchestra, and you have to write down, well, here's what the oboe does, here's what the cello does, here's all these things. You play them for these number of measures. The song lasts 7-8 minutes long. Here's where it maps out when we do this. Now, when I hear things like this, in my brain, I go, well, what's the equivalent of what I just said? Oh, it's taking the track and then dragging it for 4 minutes on Pro Tools and then saying, all right, well, this one lasts this long. I know there's different elements in it, but once you've used your mouse and whatever else you're using to make the sounds, then it's just cutting and pasting and And I understand that that's technology, and I probably sound like a real old head at this point, but I just go, well, how much actual work does it take to do that? Because why weren't these songs just 3 minutes long? Because he dragged apart with his mouse and made it 6 minutes long. So that's so. How do you feel? Does that ever? How do you, when you think about these kind of things? Does it ever like, make you think that, well, is it lazy? you know?
Here's my 2 cents on this is that this the reason I liked this so much was because it's genuinely so different from Nine Inch Nails in terms of it actually sounds kind of optimistic.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm so used to a dark vibe on a Nine Inch Nails release that this one, with its comparatively almost happy feel to it, it's almost like, and I'm gonna make a video game reference here. I'm going way back to the late 90s on the PS1. I've recently been going through and playing the original Spyro games, Spyro the Dragon.
Oh,
I he's
I don't
like
I don't
the
really know those very well.
Yeah, he's purple, he runs around, he collects gems, he does little odd jobs for little mystical creatures, and he gets orbs and stuff and
Okay.
gets portals to work and things like that. Well, basically, in the second game, Spyro 2, uh there are like home worlds. There's three. One's called Summer Forest, one's called Autumn Plains, and one's called Winter Tundra. Those are levels in themselves that you access all the other levels from.
Okay.
And no word of a lie, right? Bear in mind a big name composed the soundtracks for these games.
Oh,
Mr.
really?
Stuart Copeland
Oh,
himself
okay.
from the Police.
Yeah, yeah.
And he just tapped into this real ambient thing for these homeworlds that they are so relaxing
Hmm.
that they have gained a second life on YouTube as 10-hour long extended cuts of the homeworld themes because they're so airy, otherworldly, and ambient that people find them like relaxing and they go to sleep to them and things like that.
Yeah.
And the strangely comforting side to this album is what I really took to, because I was like, oh my god, I've been listening to stuff like this in the Spyro games, and I was kind of like, I was sitting there, and not to enhance the experience or anything. I just happened to have a window up of just like Spyro just going around, and I was like,
I literally thought you were like, not
this
to enhance the
fits.
experience, but I smoked a joint.
Yeah, yeah. My dealer's gone missing. Actually, I think Ricardo got pissed at him. But no, it's no. I just thought, hang on a minute, would this fit really well? And I looked at like the home worlds and stuff, and I thought, do
Yeah.
you know what? This has it's ambient in a positive feeling way
Yeah.
rather than a dark way, and that's why I liked it so much because it's so
And it's
different from
and it taps into
vibe
something that
wise.
has a connection with you. So
Yeah.
that's one of those, that's one of the this is a really great example of why these rankings are ridiculous because it's like it's all just like your experience, and like you took this thing that I just went, oh, this is unfinished nonsense, and it like
Mm,
tapped into something where you're like, well, whether it's reminding you of something else or if it's just reminding you of a feeling or a vibe that you enjoy, then all of a
yeah.
sudden it's a completely different album depending on who's listening to it.
I think as well, at the time I was kind of stressed, and then I put this on, and I was like, not falling asleep, but like zoning out, and
Yeah.
I was in a good place. I went from like very stressed to completely cool, and I mean the album does have its moments where it'll hit you with a little bit of like a distorted thing,
Yeah.
especially the track at the end that if I was listening to this to chill, I'd probably take it out of the playlist. But in terms of, I mean, I haven't even talked about the tracks like this. Let's just get onto that. Letting Go While Holding On. I love the chimey kind of xylophones with the drone sort of stuff going on
Mhm.
together. I already get the sense I'm in for a much gentler listen than other Nine Inch Nails albums. Out in the open, got to be honest, feeling really zen with this album so far. With Faith, very optimistic sounding stuff. Apart, sensing some tension here before going really pretty again. Your touch, dreamy plucks in this like sea of pads going on. Hope we can again. Love the melody here. Still right here, completely chilled out here. There's a wild electro bit in the middle of this one that kind of wakes you up, and that's the track I was talking about.
Mhm.
But I liked this one because of one, its consistency, and it's kind of like in terms of vibe, not like nothing they've ever done. I mean, obviously, I know they've done ambient stuff, but it doesn't
Sure.
feel like this does. It's
It's
unusually tranquil.
it's funny. It's funny that you say them, and it's.
Yeah,
I guess at this point it's Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, because Atticus Ross is now a member of Nine Inch Nails. But other than that, like it's always just been it's Trent's show.
yeah. I've assigned it they them pronouns. We're we're going progressive here, but
Oh yeah, I guess that's not very forward thinking of me if I think they refers to more than one person. That's why I don't get into any of those arguments, because that's confusing, because they them to me means more than one person. But or when you're trying to hide the fact that you've been talking to a lady you shouldn't be talking to. You're like, "Oh, I was just
yeah.
talking to them." You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's just like it's unusually tranquil for a Nine Inch Nails album, and I'm all for a band throwing something left field. But because it's Nine Inch Nails, and because I'm so used to them throwing left field shit at me,
Mhm.
that for them to um, give themselves 70 minutes to really explore one thing, even if I'm gonna listen to any Ghost stuff, I'm gonna go for this one.
Okay.
Uh, Again, it's much more of a soundtrack kind of setup than an
Yeah.
album. But as far as they go, this is my favorite of the Ghost releases because it got the most emotional response out of me. I suppose that's how I would put it.
Yeah. All right.
Um,
There you go. I mean,
and I
that's I feel
just
like I feel good because you've given them a lot more respect than I did. So
what the thing I would say as well, just cycling back around to what you said about the creative process that goes into like if you're going to do an ambient thing with an orchestra, it takes a lot more like effort in terms of direction and telling individual human beings to play a thing at a time and not fuck it up.
yeah,
Whereas with with a computer, you can program it in, play it, and providing you're not, pouring water onto the fucking socket, it should do as it's told.
yeah,
But uh, I would say this benefits from a lack of activity because my favorite parts are the parts where it's namaste,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, with that, I really like Ghost 5, and that's why it's coming in at number 10. But
Cool.
we have more ninny nin to talk about.
Yeah,
So
and for my number 10, I'm getting into ones you've talked about, and I honestly agree with a lot of what you've said. My number 10 is Add Violence from 2017,
cool.
the second EP of the trilogy that came out around this time. To me, way less interesting and enjoyable than Not the Actual Events. Um, this suffers a little bit from what I was talking about with the Slip, where some of it sounds like Nine Inch Nails paint by numbers.
Yeah,
It has some enjoyable moments, but I could say that about any Nine Inch Nails release that isn't the Ghost trilogy. They all have things that I like about them. Um, Comparatively speaking, because he's called them a trilogy, you're comparing Add Violence, Not the Actual Events, and Bad Witch.
yeah,
This one feels the least cohesive and kind of all over the place, not really in a good way, where
yeah,
sometimes the actual songwriting or overall sound of something in an EP environment, it gives that thing of just like songs thrown together because you needed to put them out. And
It feels
so,
more like a collection than it does a
yeah.
product together.
And when this came out, I was a little bit disappointed because I really liked Not the Actual Events. And then this came
Mm.
out and I was like, oh, okay, well, this is, some of it's more of the same, but it's just not as well done. And then my interest in Nine Inch Nails at that point started to wane again because they had really brought me back. We'll get to this album later, but they really brought me back with Hesitation Marks. And so I was really like, oh, I'm really interested to know what he's up to. But then Add Violence came out, and that was all of a sudden I had that feeling again of this is fine, but I don't really think I'm going to come back to listen to this when I listen to Nine Inch Nails. So that's why it ends up being my number 10. Let's
Cool.
We can move on to number 9.
I'm gonna jump onto an album that you just mentioned for my number 9. I've got Hesitation Marks as my number 9.
Okay.
So, yeah, actually, this is where we start. As of Ghost 5, I have good things to say about everything here on out. I mean, I have from the start, really, but this is where I get into the stuff where I'm like really interested.
Yeah.
Hesitation Marks. So this one has some stuff that kind of harkens back to their kind of synth driven stuff of the, Pretty Hate Machine, while also still having a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
The Eater of Dreams is a little intro. Love that. And then Copy of A is like, what an opener, man. I love that. I love that so much. That syncopated, arpeggiated synth stuff. That's what made me fall in love with Nine Inch Nails. It almost reminds me of Sin. Like, that's a really good song. And then came back Haunted, groovy, dark, synth-driven track. I remember one time I was showing a friend of mine who actually has epilepsy, and I was telling him, dude, you gotta check out Nine Inch Nails. And I forgot that they're known for having strobes. And I was like, I texted him later that day, I said, for the love of God, don't watch the fucking music video for Came Back Haunted. Like, don't do it. But yeah, he was like, okay, bro, thanks. Find My Way is this vibey, floaty track. I really like that song. I think it's very underrated. All Time Low has a very hooky pre-chorus. Disappointed is bouncy electro beats with Trent doing vocals in the room next door. I thought that was a cool creative choice.
Yeah.
Everything is this unusually upbeat like indie song for a Nine Inch Nails track. Satellite is this in your face kind of industrial track. Various Methods of Escape is a more meditative alt rock type track. That's the first time I've ever said meditative successfully, and I feel like I've honed a new skill. Running is this dancey kind of track with weird guitars. I Would For You, fucking love that beat. That shit goes hard.
Yeah.
Like, oh, love it. Into is this kind of meandering instrumental at the end of it, but it's cool that this track leads directly into a beat drop on the song While I'm Still Here.
Yeah.
But I will say there's a melody zone that Trent kind of stays in on this album. It feels kind of like, I could be talking out of my ass, but it's like major pentatonic kind of sort of thing. It's like, feels like it's major key, but also may not be. It could be just like the whatever note he's starting on, but
yeah,
I could be talking out of my ass, but that's my like basic music theory knowledge that might not even be right. But he stays in a very similar type of vocal line that appears a few times on this album, and it almost gives concept album vibes, even though it's not. And then Black Noise is a little outro. It's quite a long album. I'm not sure it needed to be an hour, but it's nowhere near the longest thing on this list,
Yeah.
relatively speaking. So,
True.
um, yeah, so that's my number 9 with hesitation marks. And if you want to chime in with anything,
No, I mean, I'll talk about that album later.
oh,
My,
cool.
my number 9, going in the same order that you went. My number 9 is Bad Witch from 2018.
Nice.
So everything you said about it. It's basically a long EP. And the thing that I like about this one, though, even though I wouldn't call it a go-to for Nine Inch Nails, I feel like the presentation of this album is a little more pleasing if you are the kind of Nine Inch Nails that wants things to be pushed a little bit to the edge of what he does. Because I feel like there are certain things on this where I go, I don't know if I've heard something quite like that before, but that unfortunately that's not the entire album. There are things that I think are just kind of like, they're fine on this album, and it's called an album, or an EP, whatever. We talked about it. It's 30 minutes. All I know is that
EPs,
all I know is that, speaking of that in the trilogy sense, once you get to the end of Bad Witch, the only thing that I keep thinking is just like, if he had just taken the best bits of all three of these things, it would have been one really good album.
Slashed and mashed EP trilogy.
Slashed and mashed.
We got to do it. We got to do it now.
Somebody also suggested that we do a slashed and mashed of the 4 solo Kiss albums.
Yes. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So that's also a great idea. Anyway, back to Bad Witch though. On its own, since that's how it's, even though it's a trilogy, it is a standalone mini album. I couldn't help but think that it feels like it's missing something, but at the same time feels a bit too much of things. So it's a really weird feeling to have, where you go, this feels like this EP is too long, and also it feels like this album is too short. It doesn't. Yeah. It's like so it's like, it's one of those things where there's moments on it where I go, that's really cool, but the overall thing, once it's over, I go, man, I feel like I needed more and less at the same time from this album. So out of the trilogy, this one ends up being in the middle, because it does have things that I think are cool, but it wasn't my favorite. So ends up being my number 9. All right, we got our final Nine Inch Nails releases of this really long episode. But you know what? We've been gone for a little bit. So
we had some catching up to do, man.
So yeah, I mean, we've been, it's been, for those of you who are still here, obviously you're the peanut butter platypuses. And but we might as well wrap it up with our number 8 Nine Inch Nails albums. It is interesting that we, for the most part, we've totally stayed in the 2000s for this episode so far. Let's see where we're gonna go now.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna keep that going, because my number 8 is not the actual events, which is what clearly both of us consider the best of the trilogy.
It's also my number 8. So let's just talk not the actual
nice.
Events. Yeah.
Cool. Well, right out of the gate, you got Branches / Bones, which is a short but sweet opener. It's this big old burst of fuzzed out slidey guitars. Dear World, some arpeggiated synths in there. I got a soft spot for that Pretty Hate Machine era. Any arpeggiated synthesizer stuff going on, very nice.
Yeah.
For me. She's Gone Away, groovy, dirgy, dark, scary, almost bluesy noise rock feel to it. The Idea of You, super cool to hear something metal sounding for the first time in a while, in their discography, because those guitars are very like that sort of it kind of harkens back to Broken.
That's a thing. That's probably another reason why in a lot of cases I wish that there was more heavy Nine Inch Nails, because if you close your eyes and you think of a Nine Inch Nails live show, what are you seeing? You're seeing people banging on guitars. You're seeing somebody about to knock a fucking keyboard over.
Yeah.
You're seeing aggression, and some of the stuff he does, especially in this millennium, I just go, I want you to kick some ass again. you know?
He must be the only fucking metal dude who got less aggressive the more jacked he got, you know? It's
Yeah.
like when he's really skinny during Broken, and then all of a sudden he comes back in like 2015 and he's doing like poppy alt rock stuff, muscles fucking out here,
Yeah.
right? And you'd expect him to be like,
He's like he looked like the industrial Glenn Danzig.
yeah, straight up. It's really weird. I've got mad respect for the guy, but
Yeah,
I do find it a bit of a treat whenever you hear something heavy out of him in more recent times. Because
absolutely.
like when it's like I saw a live performance they did of Last in like 2009.
Ooh, it's a good song.
Fuck me, that's a heavy song, dude. Like,
Yeah.
my God. But like I say, Burning Bright, Field on Fire. Oh, sorry. Burning Bright, Field on Fire. Like following that badass track up with this one, like it sounds like a dystopian Black Sabbath song.
Yeah.
It's and that's why this album left me so impressed, was because I hadn't heard this sort of aggressive guitar from Nine Inch Nails in quite a while,
Yeah.
and they just went all in with that. And I like that. I would have found Add Violence more interesting if they all of a sudden said, right, we did all guitar for that one, let's do all synth for this one. And like,
Yeah.
you know, I would probably be more satisfied with these latter releases as a whole if he, said, it's almost like an understated Mr. Bungle, where he's like, I'm gonna change genres multiple times across this release, right?
Yeah.
But he does it in a way that is less batshit insane and more, I can make what I like, thank you. And
Yeah.
like all power to him.
Yeah.
But
I wish more people would do that. So yes, I'm on board.
yeah. But like I say, because I'm so used to him genre hopping on albums, I
Yeah.
want to see more genre hopping between releases rather than on
It,
the albums.
it's a good thing. I feel like you and I have made this point, but never really in this way in this episode. It seems like Trent Reznor has set the bar for himself so high in what we
Yeah.
expect from him that I feel like we're picky in a way that we aren't even with some of the other bands we really like, because he has set this bar of like, well, I mean, we expect you to be able to do some really crazy shit, but still have it be a catchy song or something that's really memorable. And at the same time, give us an album where it's an experience that feels like a piece of art or whatever,
Yeah. It's like I always think to myself, the first 4 tracks of Downward Spiral, all completely different songs, but
Yeah.
they're all catchy and memorable in their own way.
Yeah.
Whereas I find these latter day releases, but not the actual events being a notable exception,
Mhm.
he's still doing different style songs, but there's a vibe, and the vibe is consistent.
Yeah.
I think with these latter day releases, it's a consistency issue for me above all else. So yeah, I mean that's my take. Got big respect for Trent and Nine Inch Nails. But yeah.
I mean, and you said it. It's like this. I like this one so much because there's an overall vibe that's very enjoyable, and it feels like it all fits together. And I wrote down in my notes has some of the excitement of early Nine Inch Nails, which I love. And when this EP came out, I was so excited for what he was doing. I'm like, this is cool. So much so now, I don't know why my memory of this is so foggy, but I think it was this EP because I wasn't really that stoked about Ad Violence, but not the actual events. If I remember right, the EP came out, I heard it and went, "This is cool." So my collector brain or whatever goes, "I wonder if there's vinyl." So you go. I went to the Nine Inch Nails website and it said, "Order the digital album here, order the physical component here." And that's all it said. I was like, physical component. So I clicked on it and I ordered it because I'm just like, maybe that means vinyl, or is that a CD? I don't fucking know what that means. And so I ordered it, and I don't remember how long it took to get to me, but one day I get this like envelope in the mail, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And it's an envelope from Nine Inch Nails. It's got photographs and other stuff in it and black powder. There's like powder in the envelope. And I just remember like trying to look through everything, and I'm all like, I paid for this. I'm just like, because like, I mean, I understand being all kind of like, cryptic with stuff, because he even did that with the version of Broken that I have on vinyl. I remember it. I think if I remember right, it said an album plus a 7-inch plus secrets. And I was like, yes, what? And the secrets, I think, is that there you can read something on the back of one of the first vinyl, like it's etched into it, and you have to like turn it to read it or something. That's all very clever and great. But I feel like I didn't get really pissed off because I'm all like, oh, Trent. But I could imagine some people being really pissed off and being like, I paid money for this physical component, and you sent me photos and some dust or whatever. And it's like, so I just remember, like, I very quickly just threw it away because I'm just like, what am I even going to do with this? It's going to go on a shelf, and all I'm going to be thinking is there's just powder in this. So I threw it away. So yeah, overall, I like the vibe of this album, even though I wouldn't call it necessarily a memorable. I say album, EP. I wouldn't say it's necessarily like super memorable, but it's one of those ones that I put it on and I enjoy it all the way through. It goes here at number 8, wrapping up this first episode, because to me, it's nowhere near the early stuff, but it still has its charms. So it ends up being both of our number one of the bottom half. So yeah, woo, I feel like that was a journey right there. And we're only halfway through the Nine Inch Nails discography. But I feel like the next episode is going to be kind of a love fest for the most part, because you and I both love a lot of those albums. So thank you to the Peanut Butter Platypuses for not only being patient for a couple weeks with us recovering from our COVID, but also for if you're here this long, lasting through this very long-winded episode where, I mean, we talked about a lot of Nine Inch Nails, but you also got a download update for Mr. Eddie Sparxx. So that was cool.
Yeah. You got some bang for your non-existent buck.
I mean, the small amount of the badasses out there that actually make it all the way through things, then this is it's I mean, I would feel the same way if there was something that I really loved listening to or watching, and somebody would put out like a 2-hour episode of it, and I would just be like, let's do that.
Yeah. I mean, I tend to. This could be a product of ADHD or something, some undiagnosed attention span shit with me. But like, I find as well that I'm so behind on some podcasts that I'll listen to episodes on like 1.5 speed. Just to kind of like binge through it, like especially during like email segments and stuff that some do, where they're like, "Oh, let's hear from the fans," for. A half hour before we get to the show topic, and I enjoy it. I enjoy listening to them, but it's just like once I'm like, come on, I want to get to the meat of the matter. Let's
Yeah.
get there. Yeah.
I wonder if anybody listens to us on the podcast at a higher speed. If you want to listen to us at a higher speed, are you hearing how quick I'm talking about? Do you even understand what I'm talking about right now?
Don't bully the turbo platypuses. That's the turbo platypuses.
The thing that I really love about that is that I don't know about it if it's on every device, but on my iPhone on the podcast app, you can play it at a slower speed and everyone just sounds drunk.
Yeah.
It's like, we're talking about 9 Inch Nails. And that's probably fun. Play us on that and see what we sound like. I bet we sound off our tits.
Yeah. Who says I'm not right now?
Hey. All right. Well, yeah, this has been a lengthy one, so we'll bid
That's
everyone adieu here. Oh, nice. On that note, that's a good ending. So yeah, we'll be back next week with the second half of 9 Inch Nails. Yeah, that's all we got for this episode of Cranked and Ranked. And thank you very much for joining us. And as usual, I will throw it over to Mr. Eddie Sparxx to take us out.
It's the end of the podcast. Now it's time to say later, dude. Later, dude. Later, dude. Nailed it.